Hi, I'm Mark from eReplacementParts.com. In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the lower flexible drive shaft in a Ryobi trimmer. The lower flexible drive shaft is mounted inside the tube on your trimmer attachment. Its purpose is to drive the trimmer head. Common problems with the lower flexible drive shaft are the square ends will wear to round, at which point they'll no longer drive. It's also possible to damage the cable if the trimmer head is stopped very rapidly. This can cause the cable to kink or even break. Replacing the lower flexible drive shaft is easy to do, and I'm going to show you how. Lower flexible drive shafts, as well as many other parts, can be found on our website. Let's get started. I'll begin by removing the bump head knob and the spool. I'll use a small pick to pull the C-clip away from the shaft. Now I'll remove the plunger and the plunger spring. Now I'll remove the E-clip, the slider, and the two slider springs. I'll use a pair of split ring pliers to do that. Now I'll remove the retaining clip that secures the trimmer head to the shaft. This part is not reusable, so you don't have to be real careful when you are removing it. I like to pry it away with a pick, and then use pliers or even a cutter to pull it away from the shaft if necessary. This one's going to come off pretty easily. Now I can remove the outer spool from the shaft. The plastic outer spool is pressed onto a metal nut on the back side. To remove it, I'll strike the end of the shaft with a rubber mallet. You don't want to use a steel hammer here because you will bend and damage the shaft. Now I'll remove the bushing housing assembly. First I'll remove the guard, then the retaining clamp, and the anti-rotation screw. Next, I'll loosen the bolt that secures the clamp to the shaft. Now remove the anti-rotation screw and separate the bushing housing assembly from the shaft. And now I'll remove the lower drive shaft. Before I install the new lower drive shaft, I'll lubricate it with a little bit of bearing and chassis grease. A little bit on my finger and slide that all over the shaft. And now it's ready to be installed. You'll notice that there's a ring pressed onto one end of the shaft. This is the lower end, or the end that goes on the trimmer head. So I'll slide the opposite end through the curved portion of the shaft and insert it until that ring bottoms out, like that. Now I can install the bushing housing assembly. Before I do though, I want to make sure that I remember to slide the retaining clamp over the shaft. Then the shaft into the bushing housing assembly. Make sure everything lines up. And I'll secure these two together with the anti-rotation screw and the clamp. Now I can install the outer spool. I'll slide it over the shaft, making sure to line up this recessed portion in the back with the nut on the shaft. Once I have those aligned, I'll tap the spool onto the nut. Now install a new outer spool retainer. I slide the retainer over the shaft. To install it, I'm going to use a special tool that I have. This tool has an inner diameter that's just slightly bigger than the diameter of the shaft. You probably won't be able to find a tool like this, but a piece of metal tubing that has that same inner diameter will work great. I slide the tubing over the shaft and then tap the retainer into place. Now install the two slider springs back into the outer housing. Now the slider and this gets secured with the E-clip. Now install the plunger spring and the plunger. You'll notice that there's some angled faces on the plunger. There are also angled faces on the slider, and I want to align those two together. Once in place, I'll press the plunger in and secure it with the C-clip. Now I'll install the spool. The spool comes pre-packaged with trimmer line already on it, and often the two lines are twisted together. This is just for shipping. So what I want to do is pull the lines away from each other so I have them extending out both sides of the trimmer head. You'll notice there's these clips on either side of the head, and those are to temporarily hold the line while we insert the spool into the trimmer head. So I'll line up each of the trimmer lines with the eyelets on the trimmer head. And then slide the head over the shaft. Once in place, I'll give a tug on the lines, and that's to pull them away from those temporary clips. And now I'll secure the spool with the bump head knob. Because of the spring on the knob, you'll need to press in as you secure it. Now I'll install the guard. You'll notice that the bushing housing assembly has this V portion on the front of it. There's also a V notch on the guard itself, and those need to be aligned. I'll slide the guard over the shaft, and then I'll secure it with the 4 screws. And that's how easy it is to replace the lower flexible drive shaft on a Ryobi trimmer. If you found this video helpful, be sure to give us a thumbs up and leave a comment.